Afternoon, evening, wherever you are, and welcome to Global Atheist News Roundup, dateline 8th June 2024. This week's headlines. Sulaiman Atai, who murdered a policeman and wounded Michael Sturzenberger in Mannheim last week, was a failed asylum seeker. UN experts got humiliated immediately after they concluded that it is Israel's fault that Muslim men beat their wives. Son of Hamas founder Mossab Hassan Youssef ruthlessly destroyed their false narrative at the United Nations Human Rights Council. Saudi Arabia removed Palestine from school textbook maps. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi claimed that his birth was not biological and that God has sent me. An Oregon lawmaker said that atheists and Muslims shouldn't hold public office. He's been absolved of any wrongdoing by a state House committee. A contraception access bill failed in the US Senate. Muslim students who are part of a terror-tied Islamic organization were allowed to set up a booth in a public school and promote Sharia-adherent clothing and Islam. And what's going on in this video? Sulaiman Atai, who murdered a policeman and wounded atheist activist Michael Sturzenberger in Mannheim, Germany last week, was a failed asylum seeker. He came to Germany in March 2013, but his asylum application was rejected in July 2014. 9 years after his asylum application was first rejected, he was granted a temporary residence permit. In the meantime, the Afghan and his wife had a child in Germany who, according to the Citizenship Act, is a German citizen by virtue of his place of birth. Because he, as the father, has custody, he was allowed to stay. In 2017, he completed an advanced secondary school diploma, and he grew a full beard between 2020 and 2023, a sign of strong religiosity. He trained in the martial art of Taekwondo and has taken part in competitions. He spread Islamist propaganda by the Afghan preacher Ahmad Zahir Aslamiyah on YouTube. When the UN Human Rights Council was required to explain the oppression of women in the Middle East, UN experts tried to avoid damaging the image of Islam, so they reached the following conclusion. When a Muslim husband beats his wife, it is Israel's fault. As you can see in this video, the fearless speaker Hillel Neuer, international lawyer and expert on human rights, refused to embrace this narrative.
Today's report on Israel and the Palestinian territories provides important information on women targeted by violence. Regrettably, however, the report is undermined by its subservience to one recurring and unproven assumption. As highlighted by the rapporteur, that is the, quote, clear linkage between the prolonged occupation and violence against women. Ms. Simonovic, in other words, what you are saying is as follows. When Palestinian men beat their wives, it's Israel's fault. In this regard, I wish to pose some questions. First, how do you know there is a, quote, clear linkage? Where is the data? I don't see it anywhere in the report, not in Addendum 1 or 2. Is it right to continue infantilizing Palestinians, such that when a man in Ramallah beats his wife, we encourage him to say, quote, Israel made me do it? Your report speaks of Israeli actions that create pressure. Well, maybe. Yet there may be a myriad of other influences. How do you know which is significant? It would be interesting, for example, to examine comparable populations in Lebanon, Jordan, Sinai, and Egypt, and to see if there are differences in the rate of violence against women. Ms. Simonovic, why have you not done so? Where is the data? Second, you make a passing reference to the influence of tradition and culture. Do you mean Palestinian, Arab, or Muslim tradition? You don't say which, and don't seem to be interested in this key factor in the Middle East. Why did you fail to mention that official Palestinian TV regularly broadcasts Islamic preachers who tell the people how to beat their wives? On February 8, 2016, for example, Hassan al-Laham, the Mufti of Gaza, quoting the Quran and the Hadith, advised husbands on how to hit wives, recommending, quote, hitting that does not make her ugly. In other words, not hitting that will bring the police. The hitting will be like a joke. The hitting is a kind of reminder that the love and friendship that Allah commanded is still found between the couple. Ms. Simonovic, while you find numerous indirect ways to blame Israel, how could you omit these direct forms of Palestinian incitement for men to beat their wives? Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mossab Hassan Yousaf, son of the founder of Hamas, ruthlessly destroyed the false narrative which always portrays Israel as the Islamophobic aggressor and the Palestinians as victims of Islamophobic oppression. He completely exposed and destroyed the lies of the Palestinian leadership with these words: "The suffering of the Palestinian people is the outcome of your selfish political interests. You are the greatest enemy of the Palestinian people. If Israel did not exist, you would have no one to blame. Take responsibility for the outcome of your own actions." See this video.
I address the words to the Palestinian Authority, which claims to be the sole legitimate representative of the Palestinian people. I ask, where does your legitimacy come from? The Palestinian people did not elect you, and they did not appoint you to represent them. You are self-appointed. Your accountability is not to your own people. This is evidenced by your own total violation for their human rights. In fact, the Palestinian individual and their human development is the least of your concerns. You kidnap Palestinian students from campus and torture them in your jails. You torture your political rivals. The suffering of the Palestinian people is the outcome of your selfish political interest. You are the greatest enemy of the Palestinian people. If Israel did not exist, you would have no one to blame. Take responsibility for the outcome of your own actions. You fan the flames of conflict to maintain your abusive power. Finally, you use this platform to mislead the international community, to mislead the Palestinian society to believe that Israel is responsible for the problem you create. Thank you.
Saudi Arabia has removed Palestine from school textbook maps in the new school curriculum. The current year's textbooks have also removed or altered all existing violent interpretations of jihad. In the map, they just left it blank. Saudi Arabia seems to be trying to change the cultural narrative in order to normalize relations with Israel. During the campaign for the polls, which have seen him suffer major setbacks in his election bid, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi claimed that his birth was not biological and that God has sent me. Over the past decade, Modi has resoundingly established himself as the central figure in the consolidation of Hindu nationalism. The irony of this has been that Hindu nationalism is based on a religio-philosophical tradition, one of whose defining features is its very lack of a central authority. Modi's ascribing of God-gifted qualities to himself to woo religious Hindus came 4 months after he inaugurated the Ram Mandir in Ayodhya, Uttar Pradesh. Despite fulfilling this long-standing vow to religious voters and thus intensifying the focus on Hindu nationalism in Indian politics, Modi's Bharatiya Janata Party, BJP, suffered its biggest losses in Uttar Pradesh. They won the most seats of the nation, but not an overall majority. They will have to form a coalition. An Oregon lawmaker who said that atheists and Muslims shouldn't hold public office has been absolved of any wrongdoing by a state House committee. State Representative E. Werner Reschke made the comments in February during an interview with Jason Rappert, the Christian nationalist who now runs a group called the National Association of Christian Lawmakers. Reschke serves as the Oregon chair for NACL. Rappert asked about why Christians needed to get involved in government, and Reschke's response was that certain non-Christians were unfit for public life and didn't deserve to be in positions of power. He said, Christians are the type of people that you want in the government making tough decisions during tough times. You don't want a materialist, you don't want an atheist, you don't want a Muslim. You want somebody who understands what truth is and understands the nature of man, the nature of government, and the nature of God. If you don't understand those things, you're going to get things wrong. In Oregon, we have a lot of people who are godless, unfortunately, leading the way, and it's the blind leading the blind. He doesn't believe atheists or Muslims are fit to hold public office, the former because they have no religion, and the latter because they're the wrong religion. See this video.
Tell people about why you think it's important that Christians should be involved in government and voting and be a part of the authority in our country. What drew you as a Christian to do it, and what would you tell those people that are listening today?
What drew me to it was primarily looking at our history and the men and women who were part of that history in building this nation, whether it's George Washington, whether it was Madison, whether it was Abraham Lincoln, whether it was Ronald Reagan, who was the first president I got to vote for. I think, you just go back through history and you look at men and the struggles that they faced and the faith that they had. And those are the type of people that you want in government making tough decisions during tough times. You don't want a materialist. You don't want an atheist. You don't want a Muslim. You want somebody who understands what truth is and understands the nature of man, the nature of government, and the nature of God.
Yeah.
If you don't understand those things, you're going to get things wrong. And in Oregon, that's a classic example. We have a lot of people who are godless, unfortunately, leading the way, and it's the blind leading the blind.
Yeah.
A bill to safeguard access to contraceptives failed to advance in a US Senate vote on Wednesday after congressional Democrats forced the vote in a bid to focus public attention on reproductive rights ahead of the November election. The Right to Contraception Act, which would protect birth control access nationwide, got 51 votes in support and 39 votes against, but fell short of the Chamber's 60-vote threshold for advancing to a full debate. Top Senate Democrat Chuck Schumer on Wednesday pointed to several states, including Nevada and Virginia, where Republican governors have vetoed efforts to protect legal access to contraception, saying that showed a need for federal legislation. In May, a survey conducted by Reuters and Ipsos of 3,934 US residents aged 18 and older, 37% said Biden has a better approach to abortion compared to 27% who said the same about Trump. Schumer said Democrats would also vote on a bill next week to protect in vitro fertilization, which Senate Republicans previously voted against after an Alabama court made the fertility treatment used by millions of Americans to conceive effectively illegal in that state. Muslim students who are part of a terror-tied Islamic organization, the Muslim Students Association, were allowed to set up a booth in a public school and promote Sharia-adherent clothing and Islam. See this video.
Hi, I'm Ismahan Abderrahman. I'm from Columbia Heights. I think this is like a chance for us to help students understand and be more aware of other cultures.
My name is Rahma Mahmoud. Today we're having a World Hijab Day to teach a lot of the students at Columbia Heights what the hijab is, and I feel like there's some of the students who don't wear it, don't really know what it is. They just see it, and I feel like they might have questions but maybe too shy to come up without seeming ignorant. So today is just a day where everybody can just learn what it is, get questions that might be uncomfortable to them out of the way, and just bring our community closer.
I'm Lydia Kennedy. I'm a senior at Columbia Heights High School. I guess it's World Hijab Day, so we came over to ask some questions. We were a little bit curious about the hijab questions, and I guess try on a hijab, and now I get to keep it.
And finally, what is going on here? See this video. Following this news, Tercia and I will be chatting with Paul Clark, who is an author of a novel about religion. You can join in by text. This has been Global Atheist News. Please like, subscribe and share. Thank you for watching.